Welcome to Talk+Water, the podcast that takes a deep dive with those making waves. My name is Todd Votteler, and I'm your host for Talk+Water, and I'm also editor-in-chief of the Texas+Water Journal and Texas+Water. Both publications are free. I'm in Austin today, and I'm speaking with Lori Olson, who is the Executive Director of the Texas Land Trust Council. You'd know that if you'd listened to every one of the Talk+Water podcasts, because Lori was one of the first people I ever interviewed, so she is, a veteran. We've got two or three now, folks who talked to me before. And we're getting together today not to talk as much specifically about land trusts, but to talk about funding for land and water conservation. And so, full disclosure, I was the chairman of the Texas Land Trust Council for a few years, but was off of the council, but now I'm back on. And so just want to let everybody know that and say, hello, Lori, how are you?
Hi, Todd. I am good, and I appreciate you having me on, and I appreciate you serving on our board of directors, and I'm glad to be a repeat guest here on the pod, so that is a fun thing.
Great. Well, it's good to have you with me today to talk about this really significant effort to conserve water and land in Texas. And so why don't maybe the best way to start out is to just kind of tell everybody what the need is. Why are we looking at this session of the legislature as an opportunity to get money for land and water conservation?
Sure. So we've been working sort of on this issue for a while now, probably a little over a year, just sort of working to develop a coalition that's interested in this issue. And, the state itself, the reason why we need it is because of our growth. It's been, off the charts, obviously, in recent years, and there's no sign that it's going to slow down anytime soon. We've got over 1,500 new Texans coming to move here and live with us here in the Lone Star State every day, which is putting our population on track to hit over 40 million people by the year 2050. We're losing our open space lands, our rural agricultural lands to development at the rate of over 250,000 acres a year. Texas has a lot of growth pressures on it that are just mounting and are showing no signs of slowing down. And so, we feel like this, we have an opportunity with our legislature this year, and we're trying to work towards a bill that would fund long-term and substantial land and water conservation efforts for the years to come so that we can strike a better balance between our development and the conservation of our natural resources.
And one of the big opportunities this year is we have a big surplus that the legislature has to play with. And so, that's got the land conservation community thinking about funding, but other people think about funding for their
absolutely
issues as well.
All the hands are out, as so to speak. But there's a budget surplus, which is historic, obviously, and then there's also a quite substantial amount in our rainy day fund, and so we have some opportunities that many other states don't have. So we're looking at a pretty good financial situation, and I think the timing is ripe for Texas to look at this type of investment in this in land and water conservation efforts. It's something that's, in my opinion, and the opinion of many others, much overdue. Texas is only one of 14 states that do not have this type of land conservation fund for statewide use. So, we're a little behind the curve. Florida has Florida Forever, and North Carolina has 3 separate trust funds. Alabama has Forever Wild. GOCO, Great Outdoors Colorado. So they're all over the country. Most states have this type of fund. And so states are making these investments in land and water conservation. And we think Texas is in the financial position to be able to do so. And I know that, and every Texan that I know loves Texas for its wide open spaces and its wildlife and its beautiful rivers and coast forests and mountains and all the things that make Texas awesome. So, we're excited to help try to preserve some of those for future generations.
And what what our listeners who are not in Texas might not realize is that I always wonder about this figure, but you hear it all the time. 94% of the state is privately owned and private lands, which is, it's a much higher percentage than I think any other state.
Yeah, there's only a couple of states that have our similar percentage of lands that are in private ownership. And Texas is around 95% privately owned. So, if we're going to conserve our natural resources, obviously, this bill would fund all kinds of parks and open spaces, public parks, local, county, state parks, all those things. But it also seeks to fund conservation easements on both private lands that can help preserve farming and ranch lands, but also floodplains, wildlife habitat areas, and water resource protection. So a variety of things that can really, protect our natural resources as a whole. And given that our state has so much of its land in private ownership, it is really important, I think, that we balance that side of the equation and make sure that we have all those tools available in our toolbox to do the conservation work that we need to do here in Texas.
So there are two pieces of legislation right now. I mean, that can always change as to which bill ends up being, a vehicle for something like this. But right now, House Bill 3165 and House Joint Resolution 138. And the bill would create the program, and the joint resolution is, where the legislature puts the vote before the voters of Texas, and they decide whether they want to do this or not. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what is kind of, in the bill and in the joint resolution?
Sure. So, House Bill 3165 and HJR 138 are both filed by State Representative Justin Holland out of Rockwall, Texas. He's our authors on those bills. They would essentially establish the Texas Land and Water Conservation Fund and lay out the priorities for the program to fund a variety of conservation projects that conserve, again, water resources, working agricultural lands and farming and ranch lands, also wildlife habitats, and also public access projects like parks. So it sets up a governing board for the fund that's led by the General Land Office, and also includes a 5-member governing board to oversee that, made up of members of the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality, Texas Parks and Wildlife Department, Texas State Soil and Water Conservation Board, and the Water Development Board. So those agencies, along with GLO, would work to provide sort of the guidance on the program. So the bill also provides eligibility guidelines and talks about all of the different projects that could be conceivably funded through this fund.
So how much are y'all targeting for this?
Yeah, and that brings me to HJR 138, which is the joint resolution, which right now would set up a constitutional amendment election potentially to fund this. We are seeking a $2 billion set aside from the Rainy Day Fund, and in order to seed this fund, and then basically the idea is that off of the interest on that amount, this fund would be able to generate annual funding to do projects into the future. So depending on the rate of return, anywhere from 60 to 120 million or so a year to do any number of conservation projects. And the fund is really a great structure. We did a feasibility study with the Trust for Public Land over the summer to look at how these funds are set up across the country and what mechanisms tend to work the best, what gets the best results, what types of governance structure work the best for the long term. And this sort of multi-agency oversight board was definitely the recommended best practice. And so that's why the bill heads in that direction. But the $2 billion set aside, again, we're using the interest off that to do projects into perpetuity. And really that provides us with a long-term ability to plan and to make plans and to talk to landowners about these opportunities. Because without that long-term funding, it's really hard to talk to a landowner about conserving their land because there's so much uncertainty. So what we're seeking it for is a fund that can provide us with those types of tools that can really allow us better outreach for landowners, with landowners.
So today, there was a hearing in the Texas House Natural Resources Committee, and I suppose testimony was taken from supporters and maybe people who are against the bill. You want to tell us what happened in the committee hearing?
Yeah, we had a great hearing in the committee, Natural Resource Committee this morning. We had presenters from the Texas Agricultural Land Trust, the Nature Conservancy of Texas, the Texas Parks and Wildlife Foundation, as well as the Trust for Public Land. We have over 55 different organizations that are members of our Texas Land and Water Conservation Coalition, and many of those registered their support for our bill today, for the bill. There's very little opposition towards the bill. It seems to be something that is very bipartisanly supported, and an idea that, certainly when we've been talking to offices in the legislature, everyone seems to understand the need for that, especially in Texas, given our, the growth that we've had and coming out on the other side of the COVID-19 pandemic, how everyone sort of got outside and started utilizing our parks and open spaces more, and seeing the value in those spaces, right, and seeing how frankly crowded they can get at this point. And with our growing population, we just need more of those spaces, and we need more of these lands protected. So the reception from the committee was positive then? Yes, it's good. Yeah, they didn't vote on it today. They will probably vote on it at the next meeting. But we are very optimistic that it will have a positive outcome. So, and the next meeting is going to be next Tuesday, because the House Natural Resources Committee meets at 8 a.m. every Tuesday. Mm-hmm. So we'll be looking for the agenda to come out for that. And anything else you want to tell us about the fund or your efforts to shepherd the fund through the legislature? I mean, we're just trying to build as many advocates and as many. Right now, we're looking for co-sponsors on the bill, so we're doing outreach to folks on that, and excited to get as many supporters as want to sign on to it on the bill. We feel like it's it's something that we think we have pretty strong support for, and we're looking forward to kind of getting all those folks signed up. We also did polling on this issue. Not among the legislature, but among the Texans public. And we're asking, just sort of early on, trying to figure out, whether or not this idea had legs, asking folks across the state if they believe that the state of Texas should be investing in this type of land and water conservation fund. And our polling came back super strong, with basically 79% of folks saying that Texas needed to make this type of investment. And then when we posed the actual question of whether they would, support a constitutional amendment to dedicate funding towards this, we had over 83% support. So that's, across the state, urban and rural, really good demographic of people in Texas, likely voters and folks who are engaged. So we're really excited about those numbers. Those are very, very good polling numbers. And again, I think it just speaks to the bipartisan nature of sort of this issue and land conservation in general being very well supported on across the spectrum of folks in the state. So we've got less than 2 months to go in the session. What can someone who's listening to this, who wants to help out, wants to try to make sure their representative or their senator supports this legislation, what can they do? Well, they can certainly track the bill on the Texas Legislature online site. Or through Ledge+Water. Or through Ledge+Water. Texas+Water. You sign up for those alerts, and then you'll know as the bill is moving. They can certainly sign up for our website, our email newsletter at the TexasLandTrustCouncil.org. And, again, just plug into any one of our member land trust organizations that do land and water conservation work across the state. It should be moving forward, and we'll hopefully get it on the House floor in a couple of weeks and see where it goes from there over to the Senate and beyond.
Great. Well, I'm keeping fingers crossed.
Me too.
And I'm hoping that sometime, maybe this summer, we can talk about an upcoming election. And I guess it would be in November.
It would be, yeah.
To get the whole state to say, yes, we need to do this.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's kind of one of those things where if we can get the legislature to agree, we think we have pretty broad public support, and we'd be excited to go to that next level. But right now, we're focused on hopefully convincing the legislature that this is a good idea and a good investment of our state's resources.
Great. Well, Lori, thanks for coming and talking about the Texas Land and Water Conservation Fund. And again, the numbers are House Bill 3165 and House Joint Resolution 138. And if you want to get involved, you might call or write your House member or Senate member and let them know that you think this is a great idea for the state. So, well, that's it. Thank you for being on Talk+Water to talk about this really key piece of legislation.
It's a historic effort. We're really excited about it, and I appreciate you having me on.
Oh, well, it's always great to get together with you. So that is Talk+Water, and I thank Lori Olson, the Executive Director of the Texas Land Trust Council, coming on and discussing the Texas Land and Water Conservation Fund. My name is Todd Votteler. I'm your host. I want to also thank Anna Huff for getting each one of our issues ready to flow. And I'm probably going to have to change that. It's getting, I don't know, it's a little goofy. My name is Todd Votteler.
Ready to flow.
That's right, yeah. It took you a second, didn't it? Okay. Let's talk water again soon.